Hi YouTube! Today we're feeding birds in the backyard, and I've been feeding birds for a long time, and I just wanted to share a couple of tips for anybody that's maybe starting out or doesn't have any, a lot of birds in their yard. You can attract sometimes hundreds of birds at a time in the yard, and I'm going to tell you it's all about surface area, especially if you have a lot of ground feeders like sparrows, juncos in the wintertime. You can attract hundreds of them. This of course depends a little bit on the context of your area. If you have lots of wild scrubby land around, you're generally going to get more birds. If you're in more of a suburban landscape, you may or not get the right types of birds for this. But in my context, I live in a sort of scrubby area. There is some agricultural land to the north of me, but we get a lot of juncos in here naturally, and I can attract in hundreds of them, and I'm going to show you how. And it's all about surface area, and especially in the wintertime, it's about clearing the snow, or at least having a hard surface that you can throw seed down. And I throw seed down every morning, and I don't use bird feeders so much per se, because I think they're mostly junk, and they're expensive and they break, and squirrels chew them, and they're just not worth the value, or they're not worth the time and the effort to put up bird feeders. So my method, first I'm going to talk about the type of seed that I use, and this will depend a lot on which types of birds you have, but I can give some advice on general things about the seed that you might want to look for. Another thing is, we'll talk about surface area and how much to feed. Okay, you can't go wrong with black oil sunflower seed. That's this guy here. Black oil sunflower seed is really high in fat. I think it's also high in protein and other nutrients. It's a staple for bird feeders. Just about everything eats it. Another thing that I like to use, I've been testing, is this golden millet here. It's grown locally here, and I can get it really cheap. I think it's 55 pounds for like 18 bucks. I think that's well worth it. It seems that it gets eaten up readily by things like mourning doves, juncos, song sparrows. I'm not so sure if the finches are eating it, but it's getting eaten just as much as any of the other stuff in here. And lastly, I do use crack or cut corn, and that gets eaten by things like blue jays, mourning doves, and a bunch of the other ground feeders. So that's my mix. I found that I would add more things into this but as you add more things, just make sure that it's getting eaten and it's not ending up as waste, because for one thing, you're paying money for that, and then it's being available for things like rodents and possibly even something like rats. So try to avoid mixes of seed, and just mix the seed yourself as you see fit, depending on the species and the context that you're using it. I would really recommend that. And just a few other things. A suet feeder is always helpful. That attracts everything, but mostly woodpeckers. And even think about surface area in terms of, like, if you have a deck and you clean off the railing and just scatter seed along here, this attracts so many birds, it's ridiculous. If you get all your seed eaten by night time, you'll have less problems with rats or mice coming to eat the seed at night. But you will get the occasional flying squirrel coming in the middle of the night. If you come outside at nighttime, you may find that you're attracting those. Also, having some cover, an old Christmas tree by your bird feeder is nice. And even just having the deck as a cover area that the birds can get under in the event a Cooper's hawk flies in, that can be really helpful. So now we're just gonna sit back and wait for these birds to come in, and you'll see how fast that this happens. These are all juncos. some tree sparrows in here. Song sparrow. And there you have it. A few little tips for feeding birds in the winter that I've found useful over the years.